Hello. So sorry about that. Lovely to see you all. Thank you so much. I see some new faces. So hi, Amy. It's lovely to have you here. And Debs, I recognise your name, Debs. I can't remember where I know you from. You have to remind me. Um, where do we know each other from, Debs?
I actually am struggling to remember as well, Natalie, but I know we've had a one-to-one before years ago.
Yeah, you do copywriting, don't you? You do.
I do a little bit more than that these days, but yes.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for coming along. Ian is in the house. Great to see you, Ian. Jess, lovely to see you, Jess, looking very, very colourful as always. And also Lisa, how you doing? It's great to have you here. Okay, so I am going to just try and find my slides. Do one final technical thing and then we can get going. I was trying to be a bit clever this morning and kind of live stream in two places, and that's hence why the delay. Okay, so if I now share my screen. Interview. Yes. Okay, can you see my slides? Yeah, can you see me? Okay, and you can hear me fine. Brilliant. So Simply Visible live. This is my weekly website Wednesday event. It's an extension of my free Facebook community over on Facebook. It's my opportunity to share a bit of value with you every week, and answer your questions and hopefully help you move the needle with whatever you're struggling with, and whatever's attracted you this week. So I am going to pop the link to the community in the chat. If you're not already in that, please come along. And then we're going to start talking about content. Before that, for anybody new that doesn't really know much about me, let me just give you a very, very, very quick top level who I am, what I do, and what the mission I'm on. So my sort of background for many, many years was digital marketing. I was a web designer and kind of creative and technical. Over the years of running my sort of agency style business, where I was doing the doing, creating websites for businesses, I realized there was a huge block around content, and where a web designer would say, you need to provide the content to the client, and the client would panic and go, well, I thought you were doing that. So I realized I had to manage expectations better. And I also had to help my clients get over the issue of trying to figure out how to talk about their business in an engaging way, which ironically is what we're talking about today. And so I very quickly realized that whilst I had all this web design and technical and creative ability, that didn't mean I was actually helping with the marketing. So long story short, and after working with many, many SEOs over the years, I got very, very good at translating the language of SEO and translating the technical stuff that gets a lot of businesses get stuck with, and also happen to have a little agency side to my business where when you get really stuck and you really don't want to do it yourself, we can help, we can rescue, and sort you out. So that's me. In a bit, once I've kind of shared a bit of free value with you and hopefully helped, hopefully something that you can take away from today, we can then do Q&A. Although I'm not precious, if you want to ask questions as we go, that's cool as well. So, content. So content on your website is very important. And if your content isn't working for you, then it's a bit like a car that doesn't have any fuel or the right fuel in it. It might look good, might sit on your drive looking swanky and getting all the neighbours jealous. But, you know, actually, if you can't take it out and you can't use your car, there's no point in actually having it without, you know, the fuel in it. And so I always say that your website is a tool, but your content is the fuel. So it kind of doesn't really matter what platform your content, your website is built in to a point. It's more about the content. So if your website is live and it's there, but it's not actually performing, it's not bringing you inquiries, or it's not, you know, helping people understand what it is you do, then something is missing. And, you know, your website content needs to have the right messaging, the right calls to action, and the right experience. Now, I talk about content having many roles. So obviously, bottom line is we want it to convert. We want our website to do the heavy lifting for us. When somebody is directed to our website, we want them to take an action and come into our world, whatever that action. It might be a small action to sign up to our mailing list, or it might be to have a discovery call or whatever. But that is the purpose, is we want to be able to get a conversion of some type. And if, you know, really that means that your content has a lot of roles, because we need it to stand out from your competitors. We need it to read well and be relatable and to create that connection. We need your content to meet your ideal client where they're at, and for the content to handle objections for you, so that you're qualifying the right people and having quality inquiries rather than just any old inquiry. We want to, yes, we want the search engines. The content needs to work for the search engines as well. So if that's quite a lot of roles, really. And if content was a person, they would have to be multi-skilled, doing all these amazing things in order to actually achieve all of that. And that particular person would probably be paid a lot of money if they could do all of those things. So we'd need that person to be good with people. We'd need that person to be able to write well. We need them to be good at sales, to be technical, to be diplomatic. We need them to look good, and the flow, you know, we need the content to flow, and etc. So as I say, that is one heck of an employee who would be very costly. Okay, so I'm going to share a few things I want to share with you today. Your content starts with your messaging. If you didn't come along last week, I was talking all about messaging, because if your messaging misses the mark, it takes everything off on the wrong trajectory, and this then affects your content being able to convert. And so I was talking last week about the importance of a clear message and meeting your prospects where they're at. So, you know, talking to their problem, the one that they can't solve themselves, the one you can. So we want your content to stand out. We don't want it to blend in. We want content that gets a reaction. And one of the terms for this is kind of like polarizing content, if that is relevant to your audience, etc. So the second thing is, then, you know, if you've got your messaging a bit more figured out, then it's like, okay, what is the content to create? So you want to give valuable content and answering questions, which might be in a blog article, might be free resources, might be in your service pages, or it might even be sharing the people behind your business. If that is only you, that's fine. But, you know, we want it to be engaging, and we want it to be oh, I've gone too far. We want it to be engaging and, you know, as I say, relatable. It's there for a purpose. And it's got a lot of work to do. The other thing about the right content is that it needs to have the right keywords. Now, appreciate, you know, SEO, organic traffic, all of that is quite a long game. But if you're going to the effort of, you know, sorting out your messaging, which then leads to keyword research, because the keywords tell you what people are looking for. The keywords can give you that guidance as to what your content needs to say. You then need to make sure that the content you've created with those keywords is marked up properly, and keeps people on the page. And we also want the content to be quality. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. And this has been never more important than when last year Google did another of their updates, algorithm updates, and it was called Helpful Content Update. Now, for anybody that was a blogger making a lot of money online, or businesses that had put a lot of effort into their search rankings, found that this update did affect things in a big way. However, the Helpful Content Update, it does what it says on the tin, and it really underpins and backs up everything that I teach, which is, ensuring your content is helpful, ensuring it's relatable, ensuring that you're not just spamming or writing stuff for the sake of it. Many businesses have, it kind of sifts out the businesses or the websites that just needed to do more work on their content. So these updates aren't always a bad thing. And obviously, SEO particularly is dynamic. So, there will be changes in rankings, etc. Right, I've gone down a bit of a technical rabbit hole there. So then when it comes to creating content, now we have this opportunity to use AI. And I'd love to know your thoughts on AI when we chat in a bit. But I believe that AI content has its place. So, it's never going to be as good as human written words. However, it is great for mapping things out and for giving you a starting point, because it's quite hard when you're not a writer. It's hard to just sort of sit and look at a blinking cursor and think, oh, what am I going to write? You write about. So if you think of it more of an assistant and helping you to map out your content as a starting point, and then you rewrite it in your brand voice. But human written content, storytelling, Google has something called EAT, which is expertise, experience, authority, and trust. And that is a principle that all of our websites are kind of run through in order to then rank, or in order to then be quality assessed, if you like. So it's not just, and that is done by humans. That isn't an algorithm piece. Well, certainly wasn't at the point of doing these slides, but that might change. So, introducing the experience part, because it used to be just EAT, introducing experience part is very much about storytelling and unique stories that you would have about your clients, etc. Okay, and then with content, we want to work smarter, not harder. What I mean about that, again, quality over quantity. When you take the time and get your messaging right and set up your content properly, it can work really hard for you in the background, like a sort of invisible salesperson. Yes, you then need to get the traffic to the site, and that is a whole strategy in itself, whether it's SEO, paid ads, social media. But when they get there, and kind of talk about destination website, you want the content to do the work for you, so that then you can get that conversion. And because content is dynamic, like, you might write a blog post in 2023, and then in 2024, things might have changed a little bit. So you don't have to start again, but in order to, update it, you'd make some changes. So you have to sort of create and track and test your content and then improve it over time. And so what I do is, when I hear certain things from my clients or from prospects I'm talking to or whatever, I hear the words they use, and I take that and then kind of work that into what I've got already, because people will explain things in different ways, and that voice of customer data is so important for your business. So it's not one and done content I'm talking about, but once you've spent the time and created a decent piece of content, it can be evergreen to a sense, and it can work hard for you in the background. And then you can repurpose it. So rather than going, oh, am I going to put on social media today? Or you're almost using your content on your website to be what you put then on social media. So again, you've done the hard bit. Now, you know, benefit from that and repurpose it and promote it everywhere else. So your content, your website is a digital representation of you. It's available 24/7. You know, people can lurk and check you out without you knowing that they're checking you out. Okay, you know, you'll see in your analytics, but you won't know exactly who they are. And so that is a good thing, I believe. But obviously, you want, at some point, you want them to take an action and come into your world. And the other thing I think that is important to say about content is that, you know, you're expert at what you do. There's no doubt about that. But sometimes some things you need help with. And one of the things I have really noticed from my change in direction the last sort of 4 years is that so many businesses have not quite got their messaging right, and that in turn affects their content. So establishing those foundations is really, really important. And I find it hard to do it with my own business. It's quite a collaborative process. So if you're not feeling that your messaging is quite on point, something's off, I can definitely help you. And, you know, I do things like, you know, messaging workshop, I do keyword research with you. I help you figure out what content you've already got and what can be reused, and what content plan you could have in place, so that you're utilizing all the stuff that you've already got rather than having to create everything from scratch. And that then helps with the search engines discovering you and indexing you and eventually ranking your content, and then helping to get those conversions. So before I go to questions and answers, I just want to sort of talk about, no, in fact, let's go to questions and answers. Let's go to questions, because yeah, I've said enough. I need to stop talking. So please let me know, would anybody like to let me know where they're struggling with their messaging or content? The fact that you're here makes me think something, you need some help somewhere. So does anybody want to share with me their thoughts on that? No? If not, just ask me a question. Pick my brains. Ian.
Just for clarity, where is it you're talking about with the messaging?
Where is it?
Yeah, so you're talking about the messaging.
Mm-hmm.
I'm because unfortunately I couldn't be here last week. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure to what you're exactly referring. I can understand the content and mm-hmm. the quality, etc. of that, but mm-hmm. so where is the messaging being found or seen or heard or whatever?
Do you know what? That is such a good question that no one's ever asked me like that before. Your messaging is kind of like an invisible ingredient or thread or something. It's part of your brand, really. So a bit like your brand has an identity, has a look, and it has a personality, and it has a voice, a tone of voice. It also has kind of underlying messages that you want your business to be known for. And that kind of, So it's not like a thing in a sense, but it's sort of part of the branding process and part of the content process. Does that make sense?
Yes, so far I'm with you. So,
Yeah.
I mean, are you saying, I mean, for example, some people's business names are sometimes very clever, but they give me no idea what they're actually doing. I mean, yours is pretty obvious, and I hope mine's reasonably obvious. But there are people whose names, and I would have thought it starts there, because that's usually the first thing people see. If they're, well, maybe they see you first at a networking meeting, but they quickly find out your company's called XYZ, and then they want to find out what XYZ does. Is that?
I mean, yes, potentially, but again, it depends how the traffic has come to your website, how they've been drawn there. So if you've met somebody at a networking event and they were like, oh, I had a really nice chat with Ian, and he can really help me, and they've got your business card, then they're going to come and check you out a bit more. Your business name kind of doesn't really matter.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that bank all those years ago called Egg, and there's loads of examples of really odd, random names. It doesn't really matter what your logo or your business name is. It's how your brand is, how you make people feel. It's how it's like it's like a person, but it's not a person. It's again, I talk about digital representation with your website. It's you think of a company or you think of a brand, you have a viewpoint on what you think about them or how that makes you feel. Does that make sense? So
to a degree, but with small businesses or micro businesses, as well, certainly I am, and I don't know about the other people here, does that really apply? I mean, do I have a brand as such? I wouldn't say so necessarily.
Well, yes, and you are the brand, Ian. You're a personal brand, like many of us here. We are the business, people by people. And so what we're doing with our messaging is we are helping people to understand what it is we do and the problems that we solve, and having clear terms and things that you would use consistently to help reinforce what you do and how you can help somebody. So it's not like a list of words you would use. It's just more of it's more of like that feeling and that thread running through everything. That's what a kind of a brand is, and that's what your brand messaging is. So when you've done this process properly, you will find quite a lot of crossover with certain things that keep coming up, and then you'll use those things a lot, and then the things that didn't stick, the terms you might have used previously, you just won't bother using anymore, and then you weave that into your content. Does that
make sense?
Yeah.
I'll shut
Anybody else kind of help me out here? Because Ian's not kind of, I've not been asked directly that question before, and it's a really good question. So has anybody got any thoughts on that?
I would say I've been working with Natalie for, well, years. And I didn't really have a clear sense of what my passion was. I think it's to do with, this is what I live and breathe, and this is what my passion is, and this is how I want to impact the world, and this is why only I can do that in that particular way. And if every aspect of your content communicates in their language that passion, and that is how you're going to earn your money, then I think that's probably the heart of it for me. I don't know whether that helps.
Yeah.
Can I add to that as well? It's Deb. So in the people that I work with, we specifically look at customer feedback, and to develop what the case study message is going to be, I need to understand their brand messaging, whether they're a micro business or a larger one. So where I'd expect it to be is, like Natalie said, an internal document that sort of talks about who you are, what you stand for, what you stand against, and what your values are that come from that, and why you help the people that you've chosen to help. And then from that, you you start to build a message that's really quite simple. So the reason I joined this call is because I've got a new business starting, and I'm thinking about almost how do I bring it down to a tagline that does make sense to people and explain what I do really concisely. So the messaging might just be the homepage, mightn't it, Natalie?
So
when you've boiled it right down, it might
yeah,
be a document that then comes alive on the homepage.
Yeah, so definitely having some kind of document, and kind of the process I take my clients through sort of outputs loads and loads of ideas and content ideas and messaging ideas. What you then do with that takes time. You know, none of this is quick in a sense, because you've got to test it, you've got to write it, but you could have one page and start off with that, and see if that helps people understand what you do. To distill it down to one tagline is actually really hard. So for things to be simple, it's like, you know, logos and taglines and mission statements, it takes time to kind of get that right. So it's a process, and you have to trust the process. But when you have the input and you are clearer, because you're clearer about all those aspects and the problem you solve and the things you hear people saying and the market research, as I say, voice, and data, and you're the expert of your business, with that facilitating, it then starts to become more clear, and then you've got more, ideally, more confidence to put stuff out there, because you have more of a structure to your messaging, and then, as I say, to your content and your keyword, you know, all of that. So if that bit isn't done properly, that's what I mean about it taking you off in the wrong direction, because you could almost be confusing people. And I see that with so many businesses. You know, it's all about, that's what I was talking about last week, actually. It's all about, you know, ideal customer. You need to know your ideal customer. Yeah, you do. But you solve a problem, and you might solve that problem for different customer types. So don't go down the rabbit hole of customer types until you've done the messaging and problem piece first. And that's the bit I can help with. Any thoughts coming up? Any other questions?
Hi, Natalie.
Hi,
Mine was about SEO, which I know is like the long-term game. But since doing your challenge, which was it in February, I've noticed far more inquiries coming into my website. So I think I've, you know, really tweaked that the Google My Business, which has been amazing. In terms of like the keywords on the website, is that just trial and error, do you think?
So that, first of all, I'm really happy to hear that, Lisa. That is brilliant. So what Lisa's referring to is I ran a free 4-day challenge back in February about Google Business Profile, which is just one way of getting traffic to your website. I'm so pleased that, you know, some of those steps you've taken has actually made a difference. That is brilliant. That's the traffic piece. And then it's the conversion piece. So they come on your website and now we want them to take action. So with regards to keywords, yes, you can go and do the keyword, you know, keyword research is something I can help you with. We do it together. We can figure out the right keywords. It's better to do the keyword research once you are clear on your messaging, which you might be. You might well be clear on your messaging. But that's the bit I find is easier once the messaging piece is, because then that will direct what keywords you'd start looking for. So I can do the keyword research without doing the messaging, but you might not get as much out of it, is my point.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
If you want to come and chat to me about that, then please do, because I can do like a power hour or something for you, and just focus on what it is you need.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
No problem at all. Any other questions or thoughts or? Doesn't really give you a tagline, does it, Debs? Sorry about that. But because you're like me and you do this for businesses, it's really hard doing it for yourself. And it's having that external, having that kind of collaboration with somebody else that sometimes can help.
I also
okay,
want to find out if anything's changed since that Google update with the helpful content for Google My Business. But I guess that's a bit more of a detailed question.
That is another good question. I think probably what's happened with Lisa is that there were just so many features that weren't being utilised in her profile, and that's what I was helping to enable. So I don't know about the helpful content update, because my understanding was that was more about the website itself. But I will look into that, actually, because that's a good point. Okay, so very briefly then, just to sort of wrap up, when it comes to generating inquiries from your website, there is a sweet spot, and there are 3 areas that need to work in harmony. So you've got the tech side, you've got the content side, and you've got the search side. So today I've been talking very much about the content side. And I guess that if you are struggling with messaging content, or there's an issue with your tech, I'm looking at you, Ian, or you want to, you're quite happy with all the other stuff and you want to focus more on search, I can help with all of those things. If you want to come and have a chat with me, then come and have a conversation. Book your free strategy call, dropping the link in the chat now. Where is the chat? Has the chat gone? Actually, I'll just stop sharing. That's my strategy call link. Let me see, because I've got multiple ways of working with you, and I can explain that on the strategy call. There's absolutely no obligation, obviously, but that's a little bit more of a personalized session. Then I would say, I got distracted then. Yeah, I'm waffling, sorry. Okay, finally, would you do me a favor and just pop into the chat like one takeaway or one highlight or just something that might that can just tell me what you got out of this session today. Ian, Dev's no idea what you do from your session, Natalie. Then I guess it's something with mom, because you walking the door. Okay, so messaging is key to converting clients. Yeah, from one end of the scale to the other, it's messaging and conversion, and then there's all that other stuff in the middle. Thank you, Lisa, that's really helpful. Any other light bulbs? Okay, there's no other feedback or what's corporate that's with share their story and book coach who helps individuals. Oh, there we go. Brilliant, that's fab, Debs. Okay, so if there's no other feedback or whatever, or any other questions, then I'll leave it there. You've got the link to my free community, you've got the link to book a strategy call with me. Take advantage of that and come and chat to me about your business and etc. otherwise, thank you so much for coming along today, and I will hopefully see you very soon. No problem, Deb. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, take care, Lisa. Bye-bye. Ian, I think you're staying on for a quick chat with me. Jess, be good to chat to you maybe a bit later.
Okay. See you later.
Okay. Bye-bye. Right, let me, one sec, Ian, let me just stop. Right, I need to stop streaming over there. Don't know if anybody even came. End live video and stop streaming